Hello, I'm Umbrenero and welcome back to Umbrenero's Life. Today's video is Painting Magic Art for My Husband, Part 3. As you can see, I have a slightly different setup this time than I did the last time I was working on this project. But that's because I was trying to do this later at night and didn't feel like getting everything set up elsewhere, so we're doing it at my desk, which I learned I will not be doing again. But you learn that the hard way. I did do a little bit of stuff off camera. As you can see, we have a big purple eye there. Well, iris surrounding the pupil. And I'll say it right now, I did not fully complete getting this canvas done. I'll finish it at the start of the next one because it just got away from me time-wise, so I'll still get it done. It's just gonna need a little bit more time. But I wanted to get a good chunk of it done, so it's exactly what I did do. So I have a reference I am using. I'm not going to show the actual reference because I'm trying to do my own interpretation of it, because I don't want this to look exactly like what it was somewhat based off of. I want it to still have its own feel and have its own little bit of uniqueness. And I will say this took me a few hours to do, and it was quite a bit. But I started adding some highlights in here and just decorating this, giving it more of a feel. And one of the things I did decide I was going to do is, while I'm working on each part, while I have certain colors mixed up, I'm going to work on the center of this project at the same time and just keep the custom colors that I made between the two, and then I'm not having to guess how I made them later on. But went back to it and kept on going. Here I was trying to figure out what exactly would be the best. So I'm like, alright, I know there's a little area where there's going to be some green, and might as well get that going now. I will say, I could have done the green on the central canvas as well at this time, but I decided to wait for quite a while to work on it. So just going through here, adding in the green, and it's like, alright, there are certain spots right where I gotta go on top of this iris, but I don't have to do all of that right now. And I didn't want to do it all right then, because I needed to put some more layers on here before we got that far. So I was trying to find like the right shades of purple to use, because the reference has a lot of it, and I wanted to, at minimum, get all of the purple done on this night, because it just was something I needed to try to do. So easiest way to do it was start putting in some of the dark purple in the areas where I felt like I was going to need it more. And then it was to start moving on to some of the lighter colors. I can say once this is fully done and I actually put a coat over the top of this, it'll be very shiny and it'll look really neat. But I kept on going, trying to get done as much as I could. So I started throwing in this purple blob. It's the best way to describe it, in all honesty. The purple blob right there. And because I had sketched in things previously, I kind of knew where some things were going to start falling and things like that. So it made it a little bit easier to do this the way I did. Like, when I was looking at the reference, it's like, how am I going to do all of these details? I'm going to change this in a way to make it a little bit more unique and give it its own little bit of personality. So I had to take this lighter purple, go around the iris, and all of that fun stuff. Like, I could have made the iris a lot more pink than I ended up doing it, but sometimes you don't know how a color is going to dry until after you put it on what you're working on. And if I would have made it a little bit brighter pink, it might have turned out a little bit more different. But one of the base colors that I've used to represent like the swamp lands in Magic is purple, so this is a good alternate and it works for what I was doing. So at this point, I was really debating if I was going to keep painting or if I was going to just do a little bit here and then be done for the night. So I, at minimum, wanted to fill in the areas where it was going to be purple. So that way, just having a quick glance, I could tell, oh, this is a purple area, or this is going to be the other color. And just trying to make it a little easier for later on. Just kept going, adding the purple. And while I was doing this, I realized there were some areas where I didn't really leave a lot of space for myself to add some details. So just trying to figure out how to get some of these sections to fit nicely and play nicely was going to become a slight challenge. But along the top there, I was filling in the areas that are going to be purple there as well. There's a few. But I was more focusing lower down when I started recording, but things happen. And I knew when I was here that I wanted to try to figure out how to get things to go the way I wanted it. So I was like, alright, well, I'm thinking let's just darken some of these spots so that way I have a nice darker purple because these areas are going to be a little bit darker. And then I'm like, well, how am I going to do some of the detail work? So I did a little bit of trying a few different methods here just to give it a little bit of a feeling in that lighter area. I could have done other things, but with what I was thinking at the time, I thought this would be a quicker, easier way to do it. And to a degree it was. It just... there's things I could have modified with it that would have gave it a little bit more customness to it. And here's where I actually started figuring out how I wanted to do some of the details. I started taking some dark and light and just layering the lines. Was the best thing I could do, and it was giving a neat effect, and it was kind of imitating the reference, but it was still its own style. So that helped me decide, okay, this is what we're gonna do. And it gives it different dimension. You can see there's darker areas and stuff like that. And yes, getting the lighter colors and dark colors to play nice together, but still stay somewhat separate, that was a pain to do. But kept on a going. And then I decided along the top left here that it needed a little bit more of the purple there, so I knew I was going to have to bring something in. And I was going full chaos at this point. I had no control over how I ended up doing things. I just let my mind wander and do what it wanted. Went, got the dimension in the little spot. And then I just started jumping around even more, trying to figure out how can I get this to lay here nicely or here. And then this area wanted to be a little darker, so it's like, okay, I gotta use a little less of the light, but I still need the light. It was a balancing act trying to just get what felt needed added. But I did get into a flow at this point and just wanted to keep going and doing everything that I could get done before I got too tired. But it made me realize something. I need to set aside time every day to do some painting, just so that way I'm not having to sit down for a couple hours on one night before the video needs to go up and try to paint everything. But like I said before, I knew I needed a little bit more in this spot, so added that in. And then I wanted to go and work on the center a little bit more because I wanted to bring that, I wanted to try to bring the lines in. So I was getting a nice little gradient, and then things started to go wrong. It just, I was not having the best of luck with it. So I just painted it generically purple, tried to wipe off where I went over an area, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to dip this brush between the dark and the light, and we're going to just spot it as like I did on some of the parts in the actual painting, but still carrying over the same color scheme. And there's a part I did not fully fill in, but I decided I'm going to use the color that is still missing from the main canvas there, just to help make everything flow together and seem like it's supposed to be like that. But you don't know until you try and see what happens. So, thanks for watching, and if you could like and subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated. Again, thank you for watching, and until next time, I am Umbrenero. Bye!